choose quality. We make it happen with our finances, with the budget, with right where we're spending money. If we just tighten up a little bit, you dive a little bit deeper into your finances, you can find the extra couple $100 for most of you that says, okay, I can now shift a bit of my habits and how I'm eating.
Welcome to the Good Life.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Good Life Visual Audio Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, C. Muzan. I got Coach Kabi in the building. Say what's up, Coach.
What up, though?
Welcome, everybody that's tuning in again to another episode of the Good Life. We appreciate everyone that's been engaging with us, liking and commenting, and jumping in. Jumping in the Facebook group. By all means, if you have not yet jumped in the Facebook group or engaged with any of the content, please do. Make sure I'm going to put the banner up right there. There we go. There's the banner. There's the link down there at the bottom to jump in the Facebook group. We got a workshop coming up this week. For those of you that are watching this live, Kabi and I are going to be diving in on Friday and giving you the next part of this blueprint of mastering your health and wealth. So make sure that you register, dive into our Facebook group, because that's where we're going to be holding it. We got a lot of good stuff coming for you. And again, appreciate everybody that's been engaging with the content and participating with us here on The Good Life.
That's right.
Let's dive in to our segment we call
2x2.
Today's topic is something that could be pointed out to us. And as you know, he always likes to razz a little bit about the good old city of brotherly love. But there was a poll that had come out, and this poll had said, where in America are the rudest kids? The rudest kids live in which cities here in America? Starting at number 5, Columbus, Ohio. Number 4, Las Vegas, Nevada. Number 3, New York City. Number 2.
You would have thought New York would be number 1.
You would have thought. Number 2 is San Francisco.
Oh.
And taking the cake, the king, number 1 city with the rudest kids, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's right. Come again.
Of course. No brainer. No brainer, you rude child.
Is this expected? Is this expected in your opinion?
I mean, listen, I've been to Philadelphia, and let's just say I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all. And you know what? Don't blame them. Don't blame them. If I lived in a place like Philadelphia, I'll be rude I'll be rude too, man. You know, you get all the terrible weather of New York, but none of the benefits, right? You get like yeah. No redeeming qualities. None. Not even one.
Listen.
If you gave me the best piece of property in Philadelphia, I'll pass it up.
Stop it. You're gonna I wait for the day you come to the city just one time and like somebody hears you. It's like, hey,
Philadelphia?
Hey, this guy's been talking.
Man, they love me in Philly. See, they love me in Philly, man.
Anyways, I am surprised that Philly is number 1.
No way.
I'm surprised because how do you get rude kids, right? Like how does
rude adults?
I'm guessing, right? Is it because it's rude adults? Is it because there's a lack of adulting, right? See, that's where I would have went the first time. And I think when I looked at it without thinking that Philly got that number 1 because everyone in the city is rude, or right, everyone has a chip on their shoulder, or whatever the case is. I would have more thought that rude children come from maybe a lack of discipline or a lack of parenting. So San Francisco and New York actually makes a ton of sense, specifically San Francisco. The other side,
look at that.
Where, yes, exactly. San Francisco makes a ton of sense. Why? Because you might in high income areas, places like Silicon Valley, you get a chance to put yourself in a position where, as a family, you can have nannies, you can have maids. Parents might not be home all the time. Parents might be working, or right, have full schedules. So maybe there's a lack of parenting in some of those areas, and because of that, it leads to lack of discipline in children. So children become rude, yada yada yada. I would have gone that place first of like, oh, there's a lack of parenting. But for Philadelphia to be number one, I don't know that there's a lack of parenting, or right, and especially from like a high income net worth type of conversation. I really just think it's more of yeah, the people in general are kind of rude, right? Like just in general for the city, the people are kind of rude. I think it's rubbing off on the kids, but at least we get the number one spot in something. Shout out to
In something.
Philadelphia.
That's true. You get
Shout
them
out.
in something. You get
Shout
them in
out.
something. Shout out to Philadelphia. Y'all the rudest. Kids, parents, grandparents.
Stop.
Everybody's rude in Philadelphia. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Your your
but you are
conversation is rude.
but you are number one for a reason. You are
Thank you.
number one for a reason. And
We'll
I'll say
take.
this, and I'll say this, man. I don't think I think it could be a lack of parenting in terms of like I think what you're implying maybe like a time, like the parents don't have time because they have
Sure.
very demanding jobs. But I've seen rude kids with poor families too, who quite frankly they're just too stressed to even like deal with so much stuff going on. So the kids kind of off doing their own thing.
That's fair.
So and I've actually seen kids in cities like San Francisco who are actually great kids because it's not as home is not as stressful in that way, or they've been exposed to a little bit more, so they're a little bit more humble, or they've seen a little bit more, so they're I don't know, they're a little bit more like whatever a little bit more aware,
Sure.
if you will.
Sure.
I don't know why this is, but yeah, I noticed
sense.
LA isn't on there.
Which is surprising too, because there's some rude kids in LA. But either way, we digress.
Only in Brentwood.
You could probably find them some other places. There's probably a few other cities, but either way, there's rude people all over. We're here to talk about how to get to the good life, right? Ideal health, wealth, mindset, relationships, all the things that are taking you to designing the life that you want, right? Designing the life that you deserve. That's what we're here to talk about today. On today's show, we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of what's happening in our current landscape and our current economy and how it's really impacting our health and wealth, right? There's so much happening right now. And you guys know we try to come every week to be a source of um, a resource just to bring you awareness, right? To talk a little bit more about some of the things that maybe we're not paying attention to, or maybe we need to double click on or dive deeper into. But specifically, there's so much happening right now in our landscape around a lot of these areas of health and finances that we just want to take a little bit more time and talk about how these things are impacting. And we do have a workshop coming up this week. Again, if you're watching this on the replay, go back and jump into the to the Facebook group. You can get into the workshop. But in our workshop this week, we're going to be talking a little bit more about some of these areas on the health and wealth side that are really impacting our society. And one of the areas on the financial side is going to be debt, and how debt has been how debt is impacting people. We've put out a bunch of polls recently, and those polls basically have said like, hey, we're paying attention to when we're surveying people and saying kind of what's top of mind for you financially. Debt is coming up top of mind for a lot of people. Debt is coming up number one. Paying off debt, how to get out of debt, leveraging debt, those conversations. So we're going to talk a lot about that in our workshop. From a health side of things, we're diving into some more of the food stuff, some of the pillars that could be talks about. And Coach, I'll let you dive in and start having this conversation, but really looking at kind of where we're at in our modern food environment, understanding right what's happening in our with our food from a quality perspective and all those things, and how that's affecting us. So that's another topic that we're going to dive into. We're going to kind of scratch the surface a little bit today, but we're going to do a lot more in our workshop. But talk a little bit about the food side, man. Like what are we seeing that's happening, that's changing from your perspective in this food landscape?
Yeah, so a lot of things are happening on the food side, and always it's one thing we should always be paying attention to, because at the end of the day, we all got to eat,
Mm-hmm.
right? We all eat at some point in time, so it affects each and every single one of us. Now, when we talk about current times or food now, we're really referring to like what the economic situation globally and specifically here in America, and how that's impacting the choices that people make around the things that they consume. Obviously, one of the things that, like I mentioned, we all consume is food. So, how is this in, increasing? Sort of, we have job losses, right, going on. We have people who may not necessarily lose their jobs, but are having to take on multiple jobs to make the same income that they once made, so they can maintain a quality of life. Others are maintaining their quality of life by, to your point earlier, going into debt. And also, um, others are kind of looking for ways to cut back in terms of their spending, etc. We only have two sides of the equation. We either got to go out and make more money, or we got to cut back on certain things. And I think one of the areas that people try to cut back is food. But the way in which you cut back, I think, is something is what we're talking about today.
Mm.
Right? Do we cut back by foregoing quality and look for convenience? Right? I always talk about three things. You're either gonna get it, the cheapest, right? You're gonna get it the quickest, right? Or you're gonna get the best. Right?
Mm.
It's either quality, convenience, or price. And so, which one of those? You can usually have two of the three.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Very rare do we get three out of three. So in these times, people, I wouldn't say all people, but some people will turn more to fast food, which obviously is cheaper, but it's certainly not high quality, but it is convenient. So it's cheaper and convenient, and we let go of the quality. I am saying this is a major mistake for a number of reasons. First and foremost, I apologize. Here, let me take a little sip.
It's a good point too. It requires you to take a sip.
It requires me to take a sip. Thank you, sir. Firstly, when we look at it, when we sacrifice quality, we're sort of living with a short term or short sightedness, right? We're looking at what's happening right now and sacrificing what's happening midterm and long term. Food that is convenient and cheap but not high in quality causes a lot more problems than it solves. And this, we don't have to look very far for this. We don't have to necessarily look for the research. We see it each and every day. And the truth of the matter is that those that are producing that food and those that take in the individuals that get sick from eating that food, I wouldn't say they're necessarily sitting there calculating how to bring humanity down, but they're certainly rationalizing, how they make money.
Mm-hmm.
And I say we can go with cheap and high quality.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. You can get cheaper food, higher quality. What people really don't want to let go of is indulging in food the way that they like to indulge in food, meaning that going out to eat more, right? Because they want variation in what it is that they're eating. They're looking for excitement in what it is that they're eating. They're looking for novelty. It's a way for them to experience the world. It's a way for them to connect with people. None of that is bad. But if we're doing that, realizing that we're definitely not always looking at quality, sometimes we are, and we're certainly not looking at cheap. So the place to cut back is the eating out.
That's huge. From a financial standpoint, that's the number one thing. That's the number one thing that people say they mismanage in their financial life is the dining out part too. right? So not only is this something that would benefit our actual health because we can find it, get better quality food, right? Potentially for less. It's going to also help your pockets, help your wallet, right? Because now you're keeping more of that money. You're not spending as much on one meal out. Instead, you're going to grocery stores, farmers markets, growing it yourself, right? Whatever the case is. So this has a dual effect both on your health and your wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the main things I hear when I talk to folks about their health is they say, oh, I don't have money for that. Right. You and I both know that when we start taking an audit of how they're spending their money, we're going to find some glaring things that could be switched around.
Sure.
So when people are saying they don't have money for that, they're typically saying, I don't value that at
That's right.
this price.
That's right.
Right, that's what they're really saying. I don't Hey, I'm pre-hypertensive, I'm pre-diabetic, I'm overweight, I've been trying to lose weight for 10 years. I've talked to my doctor, I've worked with X, I've worked with Y, and I don't know what to do. But I don't have money to buy the foods that I need to buy, and I don't have money to work with a coach. But I have $5,000 to go do this here, or take this trip, or do this, or do this, or do this. But it's just money's a little tight right now. Those are the conversations that I'm having.
Yep.
So, the conversation then has to turn to, well, what do you value, right? What's important to you? Because if it's your health, then we really have to reallocate your resources.
Mhm.
Right? It's not that you can't do that, it's that you can't do everything right now. Uh, and this is very simple, because when we really start to sit down and come up with a way of eating, I'm not talking about a meal plan, but a way of eating that will nourish your body at the cellular level, that will help you take out the trash detox, that will help you repair any sort of damage done to the cell. I mean, we're not talking about spending $2,000
Right.
on food. That's not what we're talking about. We can figure out something to get you right. There, for example, let me give some of these, and I'd love to get your thoughts as a chef and
Yeah.
also as a financial guy. Buy in bulk,
Love it.
buy local. There are
Love it.
people out here who are struggling, and they're growing beautiful food, and they would love to pair up with you, whether it's an animal farm, whether it's a plant farm, whether it's a farmer, whether it's your local shop that gets from all of these different people and takes it there. For example, every time I go to Virginia, I stop at Tom Leonard's and grab a bunch of stuff, because I know they go to local farms and they have pretty decent prices. They're not much more expensive than Walmart.
Right.
They're really not.
Right.
Right. And I usually stock up. I was just there for a week. I went there once, stocked up for the week, and I was good to go. Right. So, buy in bulk, buy local. Then now at this point, there are tons of subscription services that do this work for you,
Right.
meaning they'll go out, find the best quality at the best prices, and actually ship it to you at less than you can get at a store. So if we have to leverage some of these resources. If you eat meat, Butcher Box is a great option. There are other ones as well. There are even local farmers
Mhm.
who do services like Butcher Box. Like, you can actually pull your money together, pay for a farmer to take care of, a cow or a goat or whatever for a period of time, and then between, two or three families, you could have freezers full of meat for a very long time. It
That's
doesn't
right.
cost that much,
That's
right?
right.
So it comes down to, what do you value, right? And where are your priorities? And are you willing to make certain tweaks?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. These are the same. And again, why we do the show for everybody's listening is because the parallels between uh, building a foundation for you in your health and building a foundation for yourself financially are very similar. The principles are very similar, right? So that's what we're talking about. And the two words, right? Priorities and values, right? What do you prioritize? What do you value? You'll see that not only just in the food choices that you make, you see it in your financial life. The first thing we do when we get people started in any type of path of getting their financial foundation in order is we're looking at their cash flow, what comes in, what goes out, right? And it's taking inventory, taking an account for where has the money gone.
Mhm.
Before we look at where the money has to go, we look at where the money has gone. And by looking back and taking a look and seeing, okay, this is exactly kind of where I've spent my money, you now know what you value because we spend money in the places that we value, right? Like the things that we want the most is where we spend our money. So you might say that you value your child's education, your child's future education, but how much money gets allocated to that versus what gets allocated to alcohol, right? Like just compare those two things when you look at the numbers, and it'll tell you what you actually value more. You
Mhm.
might not want to say it to yourself that you value these vices, or right, these things that you spend money on now. You might not want to say it. You might want to think that you value other things, but the proof is in the pudding.
Mhm.
Whatever you see on those bank statements is really what you value, right? And so that works with your money. It's the exact same thing in your health, right? Like you prioritize, you value uh your body. You'll choose different things to put into your body, right? You'll choose different things to consume because you value it differently. And I think that value priority conversation works on both sides, both the financial side and the health side. And really, it's just us getting back to making the right choices, making the choices that support what we say we value or what we say we prioritize. That's really the key.
And oh, this also tends to always come back to you've heard of the experiment with the kids that are in the room. They leave a cookie or whatnot. They say, "Hey, child, participant, person sitting here, if you don't eat this cookie when I come back, I'll give you two cookies." Right. I think that experiment is so pivotal in understanding a lot of the stuff that's happening, because what you just stated is exactly like to your point, what I just stated, and we come back to the same issue.
Right.
Can you see that if you wait, do you believe that? One, can you see it, and are you willing to do it? If you don't eat this cookie now, you can have two cookies later. That's the issue. Right now, I'm tired. I'm stressed. I want a bottle of wine every night. You know what I mean? Kids' education is in like 20 years.
Right.
I'm gonna have the bottle of wine tonight.
Right.
And then we'll talk about the kids' education in 20 years. All right.
Right.
Right now, I want to go eat out. I want to take trips. Life is short. I want to do all of these things. I don't have all the money. I'm gonna do it right now. Right. Rather than if I stay healthy, I can make more money, I can do more things, I'll be happier, more comfortable, blah, 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 blah. No, no, no. I'm going to wait till 20 years later. The doctor tells me, hey, listen, you need to have this surgery or you need to do this. Otherwise, this is going to happen. And then we fork over. That's why we got to have great health insurance, right? We fork over 20, 30, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? To then just put Band-Aid on something that will never heal
Yeah.
at that point. And that's what we're dealing with. And we're
Yeah.
not, I don't want to sit here and sound like, a Presbyterian minister on a Sunday here, throwing holy fire water, whatever that is, all over the congregation and saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. No. But if we're being honest, then this is what this show is about. We've got to talk about what is the thing that really stops us from getting where we're trying to go. What is that thing?
Right.
What is the thing that we want? We all want to live a good life. We all want to live a great life.
Right.
So why don't we all get there? What are the things that we're dealing with? Obviously, we can toss out like in the blueprint workshop different things that you can do, etc. But I find that the number one thing is not the tactically how do you get there. It's not strategically how you get there. It's not the workout plan. It's not the nutritional meal. It's the mindset. It's the
Mhm.
mindset. It's the mindset of I will get 2 cookies later, so I'm going to wait on eating this cookie now. That's the struggle, right? And we have to talk about it. As my partner lets out a nice yawn here, right? We have to talk about it. Otherwise, how do we move forward?
That's that. Listen, the yawn only came because I was so excited to talk about this. I
Hembo,
couldn't.
cut this. It's the biggest lie ever told on television.
I couldn't. I was trying to hold it back, and it was like it wants to come
Oh
out.
man.
Anyway, 100% correct. It is all mindset. If there's something that we can put a pin in for the show and really kind of dive deep and kind of highlight, is that this is all mindset stuff. This is all mindset work. Getting good in your finances, getting good in your health, living a great life. It's all about how you think about this. The only things that keep playing, there's all these types of sayings that are out there around what we're talking about. The one that keeps popping up, I just heard John C. Maxwell say this one, that you can either pay now and play later, or you can play now and pay later. But either way, you're going to pay, right? So you can either just choose to pay it all up front and then you can have your fun on the back end, or you can try to just have your fun on the front end and you're going to pay. You're going to pay for it on the back end. It's just which way you choose to do it. I know another guy that said similar quote, but he said, if you make the hard decisions now, your life will be easy. If you make the easy decisions now, your life will be hard. Right? So all of these sayings all come into the same mindset. It's all the same thought.
Yeah.
Delayed gratification. Do the hard work now so you can reap the benefits later.
Yeah.
Sacrifice now so you can reap benefits later. It's the mindset. If you don't have that mindset around your money, you're not going to be a great investor. You just can't. You can't invest and think that like you're willing to put money aside for a future benefit, for future gains, if you can't wrap your mind around the fact that you're sacrificing now for those future gains. You always shoot yourself right in the foot. You always take all your profits.
Yeah, or in the thigh. Shout out Plexico Bears. With that said, no, I'll give you another way, because sometimes we need to hear things a couple of times, right? Another way to say sort of the same thing. I have to be honest. I totally lost it with that Plexico Bears. That's totally
That's
lost.
okay.
I had it the whole
That's
time.
okay. It was there. It was
Oh man. I had it the whole time. I'm like, man, this is gonna be great. Listen, it's gonna come back. I want to offer a public apology to Plexico Burrs and his family. They did nothing wrong to be catching strays, no pun intended, on the show today. Oh man. Oh
Literally.
man. Sacrifice now or sacrifice later. Yeah. It'll
That's
come
right.
to me here in a bit.
It will, but either way, it is the mindset, ladies and gentlemen. If there's anything we can hone in on a bunch, we want you to know that you developing, all of us developing the mindset of delayed gratification, of right, pay now so you can play later. That mindset is going to take you far in any of these areas, but specifically in your health and your finances. We just gotta, again, we gotta address it. We gotta see it when it's happening. We have to make sure that what we want is greater than what we're feeling right now. Right? That said another way, that it's not about what we want now, it's about what we want most. Right? Always keeping in mind what you want most, not just what you want now. A lot of times we give up on our dreams or the goals we have financially, the goals we have in our health, because we want something right now that's detrimental to actually what we want most.
Yeah.
And so if we can stay focused on that, man, it's a game changer.
And I think that's a great one. Actually, I have one more to add to that. Is it's not about you look at him, he's like he forgot it. Did he? I believe it was Joe Dumars had this line. It's not about being right; it's about getting it right. And
Hmm.
he was talking about something totally different, but I think it still relates in this case. I believe it still relates in this case. Oh man.
Yo, you just brought up a random quote. You just brought up a random quote. Like, I believe it was the great Joe
Dude,
Dumars.
it was. Look it up. Look it up. I thought it was a great quote as it relates. It's not about being right; it's about getting it right.
Thank you for that wisdom, Joe.
Oh man, thank you,
Thank,
Joe. Thank
thank
you,
you.
Joe. And of course, great Juma played for the great city of Detroit.
He
Shout out to
did.
Detroit Pistons. He was also, I believe, the GM when he said that. Shout out Joe Dumars. Shout out
He
to the
did.
great city of Detroit.
He did.
If we should be looking for any blue collar city, it should be Detroit, not
That's-
Philadelphia. That's all I gotta say.
Listen, Detroit is up there. Detroit is up there. So that's
Hard
dope.
working.
Funny
Bet you the
sidebar.
kids aren't rude.
You never know. They're probably just all dying. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. I take that back. We love Detroit. Shout out to
As a
everybody.
show, we will make a contribution to Jalen Rose Leadership Academy to support Detroit. All the kids in Detroit. Shout out.
But real quick, sidebar note. Funny thing about Joe Dumars back in the day on NBA Jams. NBA Jam? Yeah, NBA Jam. I used to play with Joe Dumars and Jason Kidd. So on the game, it comes up Dumas Kid. So that was our running joke. It was like, you're gonna play with Dumas Kid. Anyway.
Oh man. So going back to the food piece, man, it's I find this very interesting. This might actually work in our favor. But foods that reportedly will be in short supply in 2023, baby formula. Thank God. Go ahead and blend those vegetables for the baby. Vegetable oil. Thank God. Go ahead and get rid of the seed oil. Bread. And I say it that way because it's not bread. It's just not. All right. The bread that's in our stores and Walmart, that is not bread. Okay. I've talked about this before. There's no way you could go to France and eat all the bread you possibly want, have no issues, and then come here and eat a slice and you've got gluten intolerance.
Right.
And that don't even make any sense. Right. Clearly, it's not the same bread. So bye-bye. All right. And then corn, which is in literally everything. We've turned it into everything.
Yeah.
I don't think that's such a horrible thing. And it's like, well, what about the people who can't afford anything? Well, you know what? There's a lot of things we can do to help those people. Right? There's a lot of things we can. There's a lot of food waste going on in this country. Okay, so don't talk to me about there's not enough corn, right? So people are gonna go hungry. That's not why they're going hungry. They're going hungry because our system as is skewed, and it's kind of made for there to be waste. There's huge amounts of waste, and nobody was talking about that beforehand. People always going hungry. Nobody was talking about that. So you know what? Quite frankly, I'm okay with vegetable oil and corn and the bread and all that stuff going down. Maybe it'll help us.
Most of those things, yes. The baby food's a touchy subject because that is one of those places where it's like, hey, some people don't.
Don't what? We just gonna leave it right there. What is this, Sherlock?
No.
Some people
stop.
don't.
Listen. Right at that moment, I was thinking about what I was saying because we're talking about baby food, and I'm thinking about like baby formula. Because I was gonna say like baby formula, right? Like people need that type of stuff, but we actually were talking about like canned like Gerber baby food, like the puree type stuff.
Oh, you know what? It is actually baby formula, so you're good.
It's
good.
formula, right?
Yeah,
so yeah.
yeah.
So like I said, that's a sticky one because there's some parents that like they need baby formula, right? Like they're not everyone breastfeeds. Not everybody is like in that place, and baby formula is like it's a necessary thing. I believe you can't like even give babies water. which is such a weird thing to me. That's a very weird thing.
That's an episode for another day. However, I do like I can't, don't even get me started on that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with my grandmother. Basically was like, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother as a child, as a baby, and I don't remember any Gerber being served. Okay, let's stop this nonsense. This is another modern food environment ridiculousness. Also, on March 17th, I believe, 2023, this year, y'all can check me if I'm wrong here, but Perigo company issued a voluntary call of certain Gerber food, Good Food, and Sooth Pro powdered infant formula in the USA. Do we think for a second that individuals who make money off of this industry are going to, in any way, shape, or form, encourage or allow anything else to happen but the status quo? That's just that's a question for the audience. I don't have the answer for this. I do. It's no. They're not.
The answer is no.
They're not. So, like, a lot of this stuff around our health and definitely our food for sure and I don't want to go back to, but they're plexicos. We shot ourselves, right? Seriously, because when you start looking at, I remember first moving to the U.S. and my family always makes fun of me because we went to my grandfather's house. I open the fridge, I see all this bottled, delicious looking stuff, and I'm like, I had a pretty thick accent, so apple juice. Oh, I want apple juice. That was it. They always made fun of me for that. Like, what do you want? I want apple juice because it was delicious as a kid. Right? It was delicious. Bro, I've never seen so much junk. Right now, I know it's junk, but as a kid, I was like, oh my God, I can have a bottle of like whatever this is, nectar, like, you know what I mean? I can have like frozen waffles that I can have, bro. So much of our issues is embedded in how we treat our food. It really is. It really, really, really is. Because it's just, if you've never seen anything else, it seems normal, but this was incredibly bizarre when I first came here and saw this. I'm like, what? You just walk into a building and grab anything you want off the shelf and go home and eat it? Like, that's so crazy.
You could never imagine that. Like, everything had to be homemade, like cooked from scratch, like picked, peeled, cut, cooked.
And of course, we had stores, like we had cities and stores, but it wasn't like everybody, that's how they ate. Like, and people think, well, it's a modern world. And yeah, how great is it for us? How great is it? Right? How much progress is this really? Right? We have stepped so far away from our food. There used to be a point in the United States where I would recognize that if you had put me in that situation. Right? They had their own cow, they had their own farm, they at least had a garden. Bro, now people had farms. You think about how many people had farms. Now think about how many people they couldn't begin to tell you how to grow anything in a garden.
Think of the amount of people that don't even know their way around a kitchen, meaning they wouldn't survive. They wouldn't survive. They wouldn't survive if they didn't live in this environment. I feel like everyone needs to understand how to cook, feed themselves, right? Those things. But because we've had this frozen waffles, grab anything off the shelf type of life, there's a bunch of people that are like, I don't even know what would happen if all the fast food, all of the pre-made food, all that stuff went away. Like, there'd be a large part of our country that wouldn't even understand how to survive.
1000%. Absolutely. And I don't think a lot of people think about that.
I don't think so either.
Well, how will that ever happen?
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah,
that would be the first question they would say. Like, well, that would never happen. We'd always have a
right.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So when those that control our food supply, just take it away for a little bit. let them squirm, let them, let them ask for it, right? So that when you give it back, they're what? They're a lot more grateful for it, right?
Mhm.
So, listen, food shortages. Obviously, we talk on the financial side, find a way to make more money, find a way to cut back, but the way to cut back is not to go cheap and drop in quality, because that will come back to bite you later, right? There are ways to eat very good food, right? That's not going to completely destroy your wallet, but it's also going to leave you feeling great so that you can go out there and make more money.
That's right. And that is the solution, ladies and gentlemen. Put the right things in. Don't sacrifice quality. Right. Your body's a temple. You need to make sure that you're putting the right quality fuel in there. So choose quality. We make it happen with our finances, with the budget, with right where we're spending money. If we just tighten up a little bit, you dive a little bit deeper into your finances, you can find the extra couple $100 for most of you that says, okay, I can now shift a bit of my habits and how I'm eating. I can do less dining out. I can do more at home, more subscription service, something, right? More local eats. All those things that we were talking about, you can do that more if you pay attention to your money and understand kind of where things are going and just shift those couple $100. It's not a major shift like some of you may be thinking. It's really a minor one, but you got to be intentional about it. It's got to be a priority for you. And that's what could be, and I want it to be for you, a priority.
Exactly. And the last thing here to leave it off with you guys is, if this is something you're truly struggling with, whether it's you don't know how to handle, what do I do now? This is what I have. What do I do? Right. Make sure you get on a call with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure you get on a call with me. Let's talk about your current situation. There are some things that I see a lot of people that get on calls with me, low hanging fruit, where it's like, hey, have you thought about doing this? Like, no, I didn't know that was a thing. Right. Where we can switch things around for you very quickly. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's just going to fall in your lap. You may have to give up one or two things. You may have to add one or two things, whatever it is. But let's come up with a plan that works for you. And sometimes it's just as simple as getting on a call, hearing out the situation, and letting somebody that's seen this a lot kind of guide you through the process.
Agreed. Good show. Take us home.
Guys, make sure you join that Facebook group. We have been and will continue to do some really cool things in the group. We've got the workshop coming up tomorrow. If you haven't registered for that, make sure you do so. It's on, I believe, both of our stories on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are. It's probably somewhere. Message us or comment if you don't find that. We'll make sure that you get into it. And also make sure, please, go ahead and share this with somebody.
Yes. Share it.
And until next time, before my partner here start making some more weird noises, peace.